Greetings and salutations. Here with our tarot on a Tuesday card pull. Just inviting you in this moment to just pause and breathe and just set the intention to call in a message that's in the greatest and highest good of the collective. And that will be the intention in all of these posts, right? What is it that we need to hear in this moment? What is it that we need to motivate us and help to move us forward, right? To help us grow, to help us expand. What are the messages and the lessons that we're needing to see? And not just from these cards, but sometimes I think the messages in these cards can help us to recognize the wisdom in all the things that are happening in our lives, all the things that are already coming through for us, through ourselves, through people that we're interacting with, through music, through whatever medium it is you find inspiration or wisdom coming through. Sometimes the messages can help us to connect more deeply with those things and help us to recognize that, you know, these tools, as beautiful and as amazing as they are, they're not something that are absolutely required, you know? So yeah, you will see. I'm not sure if the phone is visible where I have it, so as people are walking by I have it like cotched on this thing, but there's like a there's a thing behind it, so to the passers-by it might just look like I'm talking to myself, which, I mean, technically I am, and I'm okay with that, but it was just a funny thought as I saw this guy walking by with his dog and paused for a moment. The dog was like sniffing something, and yeah, just, you know, that was funny. But yeah, anywho, just, yes, again, that invitation to pause, breathe, and just be in this moment, setting the intention to be open to receive. And as I shuffle, just dropping into the heart space and holding that collective intention there in your heart, and just feel that intention expanding and connecting in with the collective. Just feel that energy as it grows and it expands. Just feel it as it flows through your entire being, that light that is flowing through, that light that is always present. Just feeling its presence now in this moment, tapping into that and setting the intention to share that out. Okay. Alright, so we had a few fly out. 3 actually. Oh, no. 4 to be exact. Alright. So let's see what we've got here. Have the 8 of Swords. The King of Pentacles. And then we have the 9 of Swords and the Ace of Swords. And then 3 different swords. 8, 9, and Ace. And then the Ace of Swords and the King of Pentacles came up together. or were together when they fell out, and then the Nine of Swords and Ace of Swords were together when they came out. So I'm not sure what necessarily the what's the word, the connection or the relevance is to that, but for some reason, like, that caught my attention, so I'm going to bring some relevance to it for myself. I think for you, it's whatever it is that comes through for you. If you're familiar with the cards, you know, being open to what comes through for you, right? So for Ace of Swords and King of Pentacles, the Ace of Swords, you know, and she's looking, well, not necessarily looking at her reflection, but the reflection in the mirror is kind of demonstrating that there is this feeling of being bound, right? This feeling of maybe being stuck and not necessarily really knowing what it is that is doing that binding, you know. And I think a lot of times it's us, you know, it's our thoughts, our beliefs that are kind of limiting. Losing my train of thought. You know, and you kind of, well, for me, I kind of get in my head when people are walking by, especially in this moment, because it does look like I'm talking to myself, but I'm thinking, like, if they see me with the cards, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't know them from Jack, so what they think of me, really, it doesn't matter. But obviously there are feelings and insecurities that come up within that, you know. And again, going back to this idea of you know, these imaginary bindings, you know, those are my thoughts and my insecurities that perhaps, like, in another time I may have, and I have before on occasion, just stopped recording because people were walking by, just feeling that deep insecurity. And it's, you know, something that you move through more and more, and in this moment, feeling that insecurity and continuing to move forward anyway, bringing acknowledgement to it, bringing voice to it, you know, not just pretending like it's not something that's there, because it is, you know. It's you know, as much as I am aware that other people's thoughts of me and how other people think about me shouldn't matter, it doesn't matter. There's that awareness that there's still a feeling associated with that, you know. There's still healing that needs to go into facing that insecurity. But yeah, what comes through for you when you look at this card? What maybe are some of the ways that you're finding yourself feeling bound, right? What are, you know, those ties that you feel that maybe need to be broken free from? You know, what are the perceived blocks that, you know, might be present? And then that one with the King of Pentacles, right? And just looking at kind of the ease that he's sitting there with, you know, his face, there is joy, there is there's confidence, there is, yeah, just that ease, you know. There isn't that feeling of being bound. And I think that kind of goes into the idea of every moment is temporary, you know. Every heavy moment, every moment that we feel, you know, is so overwhelming and something that we're not able to bear, trusting that we are able to move through it, right? There are no bounds, there are no blocks that we're not able to break free from, right? Because they're not actually there. They're just perceptions and ideas. And it's really just reworking or reframing how we look at things that can bring us to this this place of ease, right? Yeah. And then the other two, Nine of Swords, Ace of Swords. And if anyone has any, you know, connections to the idea of swords, you know, and that so many of them, that, well, 3 of them came up in the reading, and swords in this deck are represented as crows, you know, and I know spiritually crows carry a lot of significance. So if there's anything that you know or are aware of that you want to bring into the conversation, I would really appreciate that. I would love to learn more, to understand more deeply, to be able to tie all of that in, you know, when I'm pulling for myself, when these cards are coming up, you know, having a deeper understanding. And I know there's so many different levels of understanding when it comes to the tarot, and even more layers of understanding that come in when you take into consideration that every deck, you know, the artist is adding their own unique elements and, you know, reading into those as well. I think it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so we have the Nine of Swords and we have the Ace of Swords, right? And with this Nine of Swords, it's kind of that feeling of loss, of hopelessness, of helplessness, right? This deep sorrow that's being felt, right? And I think the importance of allowing ourselves to feel that, and recognizing the wisdom that comes from that, the wisdom that comes from all of our emotions, right? All the things that we feel, there's wisdom there, there's knowledge, there's something for us to learn. You know, I think a lot of times we feel these heavy things and we want to find something outside of us to blame for it, to, you know, to decide that there are these things outside of ourselves that need to change in order for us to feel better, you know, to feel more comfortable, to feel more at ease. But it's inner work, you know. There's nothing outside of us that's going to change, that's going to make us like just, you know, all of a sudden feel happy, you know. That's inner work that has to do that. And that's not to say that there can't be changes in the external that bring us joy, that bring us peace of mind, of you know, that's able to kind of ease some of our worries. Because yeah, of course, you know, if today the bombs stop dropping in Palestine, if the Sudanese people were able to rise up against the RSF soldiers and regain their freedom, if the Congolese people were no longer held under that oppressive foot of capitalism, right? If all of that was just to end, of course, there would be so much, you know, ease that came with that. And we would find it so much easier to navigate this path within, right? Right now, we're just in this space where there is so much happening in the external while we're being asked to look within, while we're being asked to heal, right? And it can be difficult, of course. Of course, it adds to the weight of everything, right? So it's not saying that the external doesn't affect us at all, because it affects us deeply, right? It is also an external representation of what's going on deep within ourselves, within the collective, you know? So finding ways to find that ease and grace within the chaos, within the noise, you know, it's not easy, but it's necessary, right? If we're going to be able to sustain through what's coming, we have to be able to find peace within ourselves in this moment, right? And just with these cards, it's that look within, you know, and learning from all these deep emotions that are coming up can bring greater clarity and wisdom, right? An ability to, good morning. Yeah. So let's see what these say. All right. 8 of Swords. All right, 8 of Swords. Light Seer. Feeling stuck, a time to open your eyes to unveil the truth, having more options than you thought, an opportunity to let go of an old story. Shadow Seer, being a victim, feeling helpless, using your stories or past experiences as excuses to remain shackled, right? So don't allow those stories or those beliefs to keep you in that space of feeling bound, right? Those are stories that are being created. You are a powerful being, right? Trust that. Trust that there is nothing that is going to bind you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, right? So yeah, this is a gentle reminder that you create your reality. Look beyond the veil of illusion that your current limitations are projecting. If you're feeling trapped with no path forward, remember that this too is a perspective that can be lifted. When you choose sovereignty over victimhood, you become the fierce wielder of choice. You can free yourself from your shackles and shift your outcome dramatically by accepting that you are the one person who is responsible for your happiness. Create infinite portals of possibility by becoming the solution. We are never really stuck. Nurture your soul and spend the time you need to transmute any feelings of helplessness. While we can't control every experience that is put on our path, we can definitely work on how we respond to each one. Let go of old stories and be vigilant of any wallowing low vibe thoughts that you may be holding on to. Reframe your experiences as lessons and choose to heal. I am free to choose my healing and my light. The one thing, this idea of low vibe thoughts, I don't know how I feel about that. I know a lot of people will often talk about, you know, avoiding certain people or situations or conversations or things because it's low vibe, right? I think that idea is low vibe, you know, which I guess is hypocritical for me to, you know, kind of use that in that sense. But I think allowing ourselves to be open to the heaviness, right? To be open to, you know, to receiving the lessons that come from those things that we might deem as low vibe. You know, this is not to say to maintain those thoughts that maybe, you know, hold us in place, but it's to reframe our perspective or our perception of certain things. You know, not necessarily seeing it as a negative, but recognizing it as a feeling or a moment or an experience that's here to help us grow in some way, shape, or form, you know, and recognizing how we're able to expand through those moments of low vibration, you know. Right, we have the King of Pentacles, right? Light Seer, overflowing material abundance, patience and determination, a confident and warm leader, providing for others, comfort and security, personal growth, goals reached, prosperity and success. And then the shadow seer, obsessing over riches, seeking status, greed, and need to balance the material with the spiritual, right? So it's okay to be open to receiving abundance, right? But recognizing, I mean, there's abundance in everything. Right now I am surrounded by an abundance of life, of love. The trees here surrounding me, the water behind me. There's so much life that's present here, and finding gratitude within that, right? We don't need to step on anyone or anything to achieve anything, right? Really getting in tune with our intention as we are moving forward, as we are navigating through growth. Sorry, I got a call and kind of lost my train of thought, but we'll read this. Exuding warmth, the King of Pentacles welcomes you into his study for a heartfelt conversation about life. He's worked his fields, met his soulmate, found wealth, and now he looks out over his dream manifested as he offers you one of the tarot's most potent messages of forthcoming abundance and prosperity. The most important thing to be done is to enjoy it all, sweet seer. Enjoy every lesson, challenge, failure, and success. He reminds you to get clear on where you want to be, to plan and envision. There's manifesting power in the longing and so much joyful expansion as you bring your greatest potential into existence. Happiness happens when you do better than the last time, and in the pursuit of personal growth, allow yourself the extravagance of desire. The rest is a consequence of faith, steady habits, and the courage to cultivate enormous dreams. Dream your biggest light to life. I dream my endless potential into existence with a steady desire and effort. All right, and the next one we'll do 9 of Swords. 9 of Swords. Light seer. Nightmares, worry, feelings of depression or anxiety, insomnia, fear, an opportunity to find courage, a time to focus on safety and the things that are going well in your life. Shadow seer, paranoia, deeply anchored fears, inability to think clearly, inner turmoil, negative self-talk affecting self-esteem, an opportunity to actively begin the healing journey. And just to touch on the idea of negative self-talk, like really, really reflect on how it is you talk to yourself, right? What are the things that you're saying about yourself? How are you treating you, right? How are you viewing you? You know, for me, I know recently I've been navigating and moving through so many different heavy feelings, but I think part of what has been helping to carry me through is the deep grace and compassion that I'm giving myself, right? I recognize that I'm learning, that I'm growing, that I might not necessarily be showing up in all the ways that I want to, you know, and I recognize, you know, within my friendships, within my partnership, within my family, there's so many aspects of myself that I'm wanting to grow and expand even more, and I am growing and I am expanding, right? But I don't want to get down on myself, you know. Even I'll have those moments, you know, where, you know, that negative self-talk might creep in, but I think it's so important that we immediately, like, you know, turn that around, because our words are powerful. They're so powerful, and how we speak to ourselves, I think, is also going to reflect in how we speak to other people, you know. And it's important, I believe, that our words are steeped in love, in compassion, in understanding, right? Giving ourselves and others grace, you know, because we're all on this path, right? Wherever it is you might be on that path, we're all on a path, and we can't expect that everyone is going to be exactly where it is that we might feel we need them to be, or we want them to be, where we expect them to be. It's an interesting looking bug. All right. What's keeping you up at night? What's keeping you up at night, sweet seer? This card suggests a time in your life when negative thoughts are gaining momentum, and when you may find yourself expending too much energy worrying about the future. Perception is everything, so don't allow negative self-talk to trip you up. If a pessimistic mindset spirals wildly out of control, it can lead to anxiety, stress, or depression, even when your thoughts carry no truth. Are you imagining the worst instead of activating the best? Flip your perspective and send nurturing, loving thoughts to your situation to overcome any disturbing thoughts. Look to the light in your situation and notice that even the tiniest window of brightness can keep fear at bay. Use your light to expose the illusions and allow worries to dissipate and soften as your bad dreams are illuminated for what they really are. I see my fears as the illusions that they are. And then our final card, Ace of Swords. All right. Light Seer. New ideas, clarity, an aha moment, truth revealed, awareness and heightened states of consciousness, memory or thought, communication, victory, success, and triumph, a stroke of genius. And then Shadow Seer, overanalyzing, getting stalled out or stuck, clouded judgment, keeping truth inside. Massive clarity is on the way. A new door is opening up for you, often unveiling a life-changing idea or a significant spiritual breakthrough. Expect aha moments of lucidity to pierce your awareness and to reveal a totally fresh vision for the future. As this essence spirals into comprehension, use this time to see things as they really are and to tune into new beginnings. The quiet insight of the unconscious mind is being made available for you, so you may experience a rapid expansion as your conscious mind integrates this newfound information. Know that nothing can compete with the fierce rays of wisdom and truth, so if you are finding yourself with clouded judgment or with stalled thinking, it's time to seek the brightly lit energy of honesty. Gather your discernment, your intellect, your logic, and your insight, and clearly communicate the truth that's bubbling up to be witnessed. I experience brilliant moments of clarity. The truth shall set you free. Yeah, connecting in with that inner truth. You know, allowing that to shine through. You know, recognizing the power in truth, the power in allowing ourselves to be fully and authentically ourselves, you know. And it definitely is easier said than done, you know. There's so many different insecurities that have been ingrained within our minds, our bodies, right? Just through socialization, through conditioning, societal conditioning. You know, there's a lot of unlearning, right? A lot of unearthing that needs to be done to really, you know, dig deep into the true essence of ourselves, you know, and to connect in with that and to fully allow that to blossom and bloom and to be seen, you know. But yeah. being open to all of that unearthing, you know, and to receiving, you know, from nature, from others, from again, all mediums that are present and, you know, brought here from the universe, from God, to help us to open up more deeply. But yeah, it's definitely was a bit longer than usual. But yeah, I hope that the message resonated. Definitely did for me. I know that, and I love that because like I said, like the cards kind of fell together, 2 and 2. I think it's interesting to note that each card came with one that might be considered more shadow and the other one more light, you know, even though they both have a light and shadow kind of aspect to them. But I think just that reminder that within the darkness, like the light is always present, you know, and often the light is just hiding beneath that darkness that we feel is just so heavy that we're never going to be able to overcome. But trusting that, you know, if we keep moving forward, right, keep digging, keep unearthing, keep, you know, looking deeper. The light is there. It's never not there. It's always present, you know. It's just a matter of us being able to see it and to recognize it and to tap into that. But yeah, I believe with that, in this moment, I am complete. Sending so much love. Just again, inviting you to come to the breath. Feel into the energy of this moment, just integrating all that flowed through within this space, giving gratitude for your presence, for co-creating the energy of this space, right? Sending so much love.